Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Laura West here from AVASK in the UK, and I'm joined by two partners here. So I've got Elise from VOCADS and also Claudia from E-Comas. So really happy to have you both today. And we're going to be talking about AI. Obviously, it's a very, very big topic, ChatGPT, all these new technologies coming out. So we thought we'd do a session with you guys. If you'd like to maybe quickly introduce yourselves, Elise and Claudia.
Yeah, hi guys, and thank you, Laura. So I'm Elise Pinto, I'm the CEO and co-founder of VOCADS. We created VOCADS, a startup specialized in voice technologies. And just a quick hint, conversational voice service, but we'll have all time later to explain in detail.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Claudio. I'm the head of analytics at E-Comas. Over the past 3 years with the company, together with 4 years spent in the academia by teaching statistics and also finishing a PhD in statistics, I really learned firsthand the importance of data. Now, if you don't know anything about E-Comas, maybe Laura, I can spend a minute talking about E-Comas.
Please do, yeah.
So, thank you. E-Comas is a digital agency helping brands expand in online marketplaces. We're a team of more than 50 people spread across the world. We have offices in India, in the United States, in Madagascar, and our HQ is in Luxembourg. We have three core service pillars. One of them is global expansion, where we help brands expand in different regions across different marketplaces, especially Amazon. And then retail media, where we offer full advertising management and optimization. And data and technology, which is the team that I'm part of. My team and I, we offer full data services and products, including data strategy, business intelligence for e-commerce, product information management. We've also developed a dashboard specifically tailored for Amazon sellers. It's called Compass. And lately, we've developed services around Amazon Marketing Cloud. So we're able to run custom queries and develop dashboards around Amazon Marketing Cloud. So that's me and e-commerce in short.
Nice, thank you. So we're going to start with Elise today. We're going to talk about, the technologies that you mentioned before, how this is used on e-commerce, and obviously we work with a lot of sellers that are trying to boost sales, improve the consumer experience. So that's really what we're going to be going through today. So please put any questions in the chat. And we'll, depending obviously on those questions, we'll either go through them during the slides or at the end, we'll also have an opportunity to go more in depth into any questions that are asked. So perfect. I'll leave it over to you, Elise.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Everything is good here. You see my screen, guys?
I can see, yeah, perfect.
Yes.
All right, guys. So today we are going to talk about voice technologies and particularly how does voice reinvent customer satisfaction surveys, because of course retailers do send satisfaction surveys. So companies nowadays have a growing need actually to for data. We've just Claudio just mentioned data to improve customer experience. I'm gonna start with two interesting figures here. The first one is that 77% of customers view brands more favorably if they seek to collect and process their feedback. So if the brands, if retailers do actually pay attention to the customers, it counts. It's really important for their clients. The second interesting figure is that 89% of customers are more likely to make a repeat purchase after receiving a positive customer experience compared to 18%, meaning that if you can detect if a person is satisfied or not, it does definitely impact your conversion and your sales. But what happens is that retailers, they do not have necessarily the right tools to capture rich data. Why? Because currently what retailers do is that often they have their classic satisfaction surveys. 5 stars, emojis, because it's fast. It gives some insights, but it's just a 5 stars or it's just an emoji. So it gives a little insight. Or what they use is a close-ended question, again, with little insights. A close question could be from 1 to 10. What do you think? Or are you satisfied, average satisfied, or unsatisfied? Or between those three options, what do you prefer? The website, the color, whatsoever. So it gives some values, but it's little insight. And also, another option is to add a short comment. Please add some details of what you want. But what happens is that those comments often remain incomplete because it does take some time. People like at the era of the instantaneity, the people want to go fast and so on. So they either don't leave any comment because they are in the street and they're not gonna take their phone to write anything. Or if they do write things, it might not be very long. So now imagine that all these closed questions become open questions with rich data. And it's exactly what we created at VOCADS, is that VOCAD reinvent the survey experience thanks to the conversational voice AI. And what it allows is actually to give the possibility for clients to give their opinion naturally as they do with their friends while talking. If I talk to Claudio now about AVASK seminar, and I'm gonna say to Claudio, yeah, it was very well organized, and Claudio is gonna get back to me. This is very natural. This is what we do in real life. We talk. And what we reproduce at VOCADS is exactly this same experience, not with a person, but with an AI. And this natural conversation, it actually is made possible by a cutting-edge proprietary voice AI. Proprietary is important because, especially in Europe, at the era of data sovereignty, it's important when you can have a proprietary AI, meaning that your data belongs to you and not to any else. So let me show you a video. Laura, please, if you can share the video. Thank you.
On your next purchase, answering a... Hey John, 10% discount on your next purchase, answering a quick survey suits you?
Definitely.
Great, I love to talk to humans. I would like to have your opinion on your last purchase from us. So, what do you think of this purchase?
Oh, it was great.
This will please the product team. And what did you think of the delivery?
The delivery was pretty quick, but I think it could have been even quicker.
I'm sorry about that. What did you not like about the delivery?
The product just took too much time to arrive to my house.
I understand. We strive to keep our deadlines as short as possible. Next, what do you think of our after-sales services?
This one was great.
Oh, you're going to make me blush. And do you think that after-sales service is always better handled by a human?
I don't think so, especially now in 2023.
Your point of view is interesting. That was the last question. Thank you so much for your answers, John. Enter your email address to receive the discount coupon. You should have received it. By the way, have you also seen our online sale? 20% off selected items. Would you like to go with me?
Sure.
And here we go. This is where we part ways. Coupons are cumulative, so take advantage of them here. It was a pleasure to talk to you, John. See you soon.
So as you could see, it was a real conversation with an AI in a very natural way, and where the AI could actually have a personalized conversation according to what the client was saying. So now how all this thing works, actually retailer can create the survey from a no-code platform. So it's in a very easy no-code platform where there is a drag and drop system, and in an instant you'll be able to create the survey. Then the customer, you guys see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see the 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then once the survey is created, actually your customer will be able to give their opinion, as you've just seen in the video, by voice, actually using a friendly interface. And once the client's end user, the customer, gave his feedback or her feedback, you as a retailer, you will actually understand your customer better thanks to real-time reporting. So once the data is collected, you will be able to right away analyze the data. So it's a brand new, actually, customer experience for better customer knowledge. This is really important. So for your clients, actually, as you could see, voice is more convenient, and your customer will be able to actually answer in a very smooth and natural way to open question. You click on a mic, as you could see, and give your feedback in a very practical way. It's the first thing. Second thing, it's faster. Voice allows to respond 3 times faster than in writing. If I had to actually write now all what I'm saying, it would take a bit more time than what I'm actually taking now. And last thing is that, as you could see, it's a more interactive experience because there is the rebound of the AI. Because if the AI feels that you are not happy or happy, is not gonna respond the same way. If you are unhappy, for instance, the AI will say, can you give me more details? And on the contrary, if you say that you are happy, the AI can actually say, oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to transmit this information to the marketing team, for instance. And what is interesting in the interactivity thing is that there is some emotion behind. And this is really important because when I talk to Laura about my experience and Laura gets back to me and interact with me, I have emotion. I feel understood. I feel listened. And it's a bit the same experience with the AI where the customer can feel listened or understood. And as it's a brand new and engaging experience, the company will actually not only get some richer data, because we create more data, and with all what we've seen with our clients and our studies, we saw that we gather at least 10 more times more verbatim. We collect more verbatim. So once we actually gathered more data, it's the second part is to analyze this data. So we have some sentiment detection and named entity classification, meaning that we categorize what we've understood. For instance, if the customer says that he is not happy because of the customer experience, we are gonna extract customer experience as classification and bring that information to you guys. And once you gather some data and analyze this data, the third part is to make this data actionable, of course, because it's not just to have a beautiful reporting, it's to make this data actionable, triggering actions in your CRM. For instance, if you detect that a customer is not happy on something, you can trigger right away in your CRM some discount to make him not churn, for instance. But one last thing is that our solution also addresses a wide audience, especially at the era of mandatory information accessibility, because there are some European regulation, American regulation of inclusion. So, public, like people, like clients, like visually impaired or illiterate with voice can give their feedback. And this for retailer is important because you can have the law. I mean, if you don't respect the law, it can be an issue. So now, giving you some feedback in the retail space more deeply, where can we use the survey? So before purchasing, for instance, a lot of retailer can do some market research. You want to launch a new product or adapt your product. So this is a way to actually make a study with easy and smooth and fast manner. This is one example. But also during the purchase time, adding survey is interesting. For instance, you are in store, not necessarily online, but in store, you can have a QR code. It's something that we are currently implementing in a mall where we can have some QR code, and the person can scan the QR code, and while scanning the QR code, wins 10% at the cashier. So they scan the QR code, they give their feedback, and they get 10% discount. So this is one other interesting use case. And some other use cases as well post-purchase, where someone, for instance, is receiving a parcel, and so again, this is more in the physical world, receives a parcel and there is a QR code, for instance, on the parcel, and right away the customer can, in a very practical way, scan the QR code and give a feedback, because this is a real sometimes issue when there is a delivery issue, and people, they don't want to take their phone and write exactly what happened and so on. Here it's very simple. I scan the QR code and I give my feedback, and boom, that's over. And before ending this little presentation, I wanted to give you one interesting use case that we've done with our client. It's a car rental service where people, there is no agency. So imagine a retail store, you don't have any physical world. If it's not in the physical world, it's totally online. And here people can rent a car. So they take the phone, they do it with the app, and they lock and unlock the car with the application. And this company, they had an issue, is that they wanted to gather more deeper insights. They were getting some insights, but they wanted deeper insights. And what happened is that when you are in the street and you lock the car, it's, again, this is not practical. You're not gonna take your phone and give your feedback. And once you are getting back to home and you see the survey, you might not want to answer it because you take your computer and so on. So the problem was that insight were where it could gather some insight, but not very deep insight. So we, with him, we did an experimentation over 6 months with actually more than 1,500 customers. And the idea was to, right after the customer locked the car, he would or she would receive a notification and a mail to answer right away the survey. And as it's very practical and fast and so on, it was people could actually click on the mic and give their feedback. And we see it was a great success, because we could see that the clients was gathering 2x more verbatim actually than usual. And also there were some personalization of the relationship, meaning that if the person was satisfied and or unsatisfied, the company could actually send some specific action, discount or call, and personalize the relationship. And one very important thing, and that could be also interesting in the retail space, is that if you once the company was detecting some dissatisfaction right away, because it was a real-time data, right away the company could actually contact the customer and suggest some discount, for instance. So that was one interesting use case of how voice survey was used in this space. So to conclude, VOCADS, what is it? It's a conversational voice survey to collect richer data in order to improve customer experience. Thank you, guys. And if you have any question, let me know.
Thank you, Elise. That's really very interesting. And I know myself when, we've got someone listening. Hi, Alexandra. Please put any questions that you do have in the chat. We're more than happy to go through those. But yeah, just as I was saying, I know myself when, even talking to friends, sometimes, I have a lot to say. So I do just do a voice note, and it's so efficient. So that's really, really an interesting way of, how sellers or, retailers can actually really improve their customer experience. And as you said, actually improve products, improve, the website, according to the users that are actually using their products. So really enjoyed that. Thank you, Elise. And now I'm going to pass over through to Claude. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
And yeah, perfect. I think you've got your slides, everything ready to go.
Yeah, thanks, Elise, for the presentation. I think it's a super interesting service. I've never heard of this kind of collection of data. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's, as Laura said, is aligned with this new movement of mostly voice messaging and voice notes, and because it's easy, right? Instead of just writing some feedback, it takes forever. I think it's super interesting to just collect user feedback through voice. So well done. Now, on my part, I have a slightly different kind of presentation today, which is related to a topic that I think it's quite hot, especially in e-commerce. And the topic is keyword search versus semantic search. Now, with this new AI developments, I think the all of us, including agencies, brands, and consumers, will see quite a shift from the traditional keyword search that we were all used to this new semantic search. And today, my goal is to explain a little bit what's the difference between them and what are some use cases, and of course, some pros and cons for both. So today's agenda is relatively short. We have, as I mentioned, for both keyword and the semantic search, we have overview and mechanism for both of them, and then pros and cons and use cases at the end. So I will start off with the keyword search. So keyword search, as we know, is for sure the core of any kind of traditional search engine. Now let's have a look over this representation here of how keyword search actually works. And this is a helicopter view. Okay, so this is a very simplified example of how both of these models work. So for everyone to understand what the difference between them is. So let's imagine you go into an e-commerce website and you look for chain oil for bicycle, for example. Now you'll see in these slides, I refer to documents quite a lot. Now, documents is a technical term, but in a sense of e-commerce, it refers to product pages. So all the content that's stored in a product page, for example, in a technical term, it's a document. So the algorithm will have to look over all these documents, meaning product pages, and it will have to check for all those keywords, right? So chain oil for bicycle. Now, there might be some product pages that are with motorcycle keyword. There might be some ones with oil, bicycle, chain, and there might just be some unrelated ones with, for example, mineral or dogs, right? So the algorithm will only pick the product pages that have all those three keywords. Now, in terms of how it works, so the algorithm has to parse the product pages to identify these keywords for sure. And then it has to store these keywords with corresponding product IDs. Now, those product IDs are something that the user never sees. It's just something that's stored in the database that the algorithm would use to kind of crawl these results. In terms of process of indexing, the document ingestion is very important, but this happens again without any kind of input from the seller that lists products, for example, on Amazon. There's another step that's called tokenization, in which all the content from a product page is actually broken down into words. So all commas are removed, all articles are removed, like the, a, and so on. All those extra words are removed. And then, very important in terms of keyword search, the term frequency is also assessed. Now, if you're familiar with the more modern marketplaces, such as Amazon, for example, we know term frequency is not relevant for ranking in the SEO, but for the more traditional ones, term frequency it's still relevant. Now, in terms of storage, this data is stored in what's called an inverted index. It's called an inverted index because typically you'd start with the product pages and then have keywords allocated to it. This is inverted, and it actually comes from the keyword, and then it moves to kind of IDs of all the product pages or all the products in this case. Now, the result of this is for sure rapid retrieval of the relevant documents or product pages. So this is known to be very efficient. But again, in today's world of AI, what we want is not necessarily speed, but we want relevancy. We want content and results that are relevant for the input that we have. Now, if the keyword is as simple as this one, it might be that any kind of algorithm would be able to pick up some products and show us something. So let's move into the semantic search. And we have here what I call understanding of context and meaning. So semantic search is a lot more complicated, both technically and in terms of the processing power, than the keyword search. And for example, if you keep searching for chain oil for bicycle, an algorithm that uses semantic search would also be able to give you, for example, products that don't have these keywords, but have, for example, bicycle transmission lubricant. Okay, so those are synonyms, and the algorithm would be able to assess these keywords and actually show you relevant results, knowing that you would be interested in these products as well. In terms of how this semantic search works, so it has to analyze the meaning behind those queries, which is a lot different than the keyword search. it then has to connect the concepts and make relationships between these keywords. And Alice was talking about the verbatim. This is super important. The more words you have and the more structure you can give to the algorithm, the better it actually would behave. Now, if you're a small website that doesn't really have that much data, it would probably be quite difficult for you to actually have a super performant algorithm, even if you would use the most performant one. If you don't have data behind, that won't be super efficient. So that's why big websites like Amazon are actually able to provide super good results, even if you have typos, even if you just search for something that's maybe not super relevant for what you're actually looking for. And I have some examples in the following slides. In terms of the process of indexing, document ingestion for source, so you still have to know all your product pages and all the content. Tokenization happens here too, but then there's a few additional steps in terms of it's called entity recognition. So it has to identify all the important concepts in these queries that an user might have. And then additionally, it has to create in the backend relationship mapping. So it has to create the relationship, for example, between oil and lubricant. And an algorithm would have all these relationships in the backend. And every time a user searches for something, it would be able to pull this up relatively quickly. Then there's also the context, because in the end, semantic means the meaning of something. So context has to be applied as well, context analysis. So it has to understand the various possible interpretations of some terms. That there's some words that maybe have different meanings, and they have to be put into the perspective of maybe the other words that are included in the specific search query. And then storage here it's also a bit more complicated. It's not as easy as just storing the keywords and the product pages. It's a lot about embedding the meanings and the relationships in what's called a graph or a semantic index. Now, the result of this is for sure relevant results, but again, there's quite a lot of processing power that's it's to be handled in the backend, and that's why most of the smaller websites don't have access to this kind of thing. It's one thing is cost, the other one again it's relevancy of the data that they have. So for sure, that doesn't really make it work for them. Now, there's some providers that actually bring some quite good results, even if the data is not that much, because they have databases that they would offer as a service on top of what the client has, and sometimes it works, but most of the times we see some irrelevant results, even if you'd use semantic search. Now, in terms of pros and cons for keyword search, as I mentioned, speed and simplicity for sure is one of the pros of the keyword search. Predictability as well. It's very easy to return exact matches, and then it makes the results predictable based on the input, right? As we all know, if you're working on Amazon and kind of improving the SEO, you know that it's super important to make sure that you predict kind of what the results would be based on the keywords. So you analyze the keywords performance, and then you'd be able to predict kind of what your traffic would be on those keywords that you've curated. Now, there's also optimization control. As mentioned, sellers, or in our case, agencies, can optimize product listings for specific keywords to increase visibility. Now, there's some maybe, let's say, practices that are not very well received at the end of the marketplaces, such as keyword stuffing, which is sometimes still available on some platforms. Is not really available. I mean, it is possible on Amazon, but you'd be penalized if you use keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing means just adding a lot of keywords all over the product page. Hopefully, the algorithm would pick it up and probably show the results. But if the algorithm sees this, it will actually penalize you and probably send you to page 10 of search results. Now, there's also clear analytics here. It's easy to track which keywords are driving traffic and sales, while if you look for semantic search, it's quite difficult. If a user input has something that's a bit more generic, it would be quite difficult for you to actually know. You can, of course, know the query that generated the result, but queries will not be specific. They'll just be broad, because that's the whole point of semantic search. Now, in terms of cons, they'll just show you some products that have nothing to do with your query, or in the worst case, it will not show anything at all. As I mentioned, there's over optimization. So there's keyword stuffing that can happen on some platforms that still allow this. It's quite rigid, so you have to be super specific of your keywords. On Amazon, for example, the way to let's say avoid the very specific rigidity of the algorithm is if you go broad, for example. So there's multiple options, and one of them is for the algorithm to be able to use synonyms. So if you, for example, have a keyword, let's say tennis racket, for example, if you use this keyword as broad, you can still use, for example, tennis supplies, right? So even though it's not the exact same keyword, it will still show you tennis rackets if you use tennis supplies, for example. Now, it's very dependent on the user's input. So this relies heavily on the user's ability to be specific with the keyword. So if you don't know what you're searching for, the search results won't be super relevant for you. And then, of course, it misses intent because it won't be able to really understand your query. In terms of pros and cons for semantic search, of course, biggest pro is that it actually understands what you're trying to say. And of course, if you're not specific, even with your semantic search, no algorithm would be able to really show you relevant results. And I'll show you some examples of what I mean with the relevant semantic search. It for sure enhances the user experience, since this is today's topic. So the whole idea is to really personalize the results and really show results that would convert with the customers. Now, there's of course a reduced over optimization here, because you can't really play that much with the keywords and keyword stuffing and really adapting to the user's input. It's more into the mercy of the algorithm, how it will show the results based on different kind of data points. Then of course it is adaptable because it continuously learns based on the user's interaction with the platform. In terms of cons, quite expensive and quite complex. There's some companies that offer this as a service. It's called search as a service. One of them is it's called Algolia. There's another one called Luigi's Box. So these guys basically would plug into your website if you have a D2C website, and they'll be able to optimize your search results. As mentioned, if you don't really have that much data, it's probably going to be quite challenging. Processing time can be quite long if you have a lot of data. On the other hand, and the algorithms are not really optimized. It might not be the case more recently with the newest versions of neural search from Algolia, for example, which is a really best-in-class search algorithm. It might overinterpret, so because a word can have different meanings, the algorithm might just put a bet on the wrong keyword. It might just show you something that really doesn't make sense for what you're searching for. And of course, it's resource intense, but yeah, if you use search as a service, then this is really a no concern. Now, let's look over some examples of what a semantic search would look like, right? So we want to switch from just searching for a bike light. We want to be a bit more specific. So we don't want to waste time and just search for stuff on a specific website. We know what we need. So we're road cycling, so we want a very light bike light. So I can go on a website and search for bike light that's lighter than 150 grams, right? So supposedly the search results should show me some bike lights that are lighter than 150 grams, right? Now, let's look over what the results on these websites are. And there are none. They basically say, well, we don't find anything based on your query. How about some bicycles? So for sure, this is irrelevant for what I was searching for. Now, what I'm trying to show here is not that the products are not available on the website, because if you actually dig in a little bit, they have products that are lighter than 150 grams. So in a sense, they basically lost the sale. If I would just bounce and quit the page after I did this search query, they would just simply lose the sale because they weren't able to show the right results based on my query. On the other hand, probably one of the best algorithms when it comes to e-commerce semantic search is on Amazon. So if you go a little bit broad, let's say, in terms of your query and just search for something to keep my tea warm, it actually shows pretty good results. Now, this sponsor brand doesn't really make much sense here. It's a candle light. Okay, it's interesting, some angels. So those for sure are not able to kind of keep your tea warm. So the sponsor brand is not relevant, but the sponsor products and the other products are actually super relevant for what we're searching for. So you see now that there's differences, and there's for sure some opportunities that some platforms can actually take to kind of make this switch from keyword search to semantic search. Now, let's look over some use cases for both. In terms of keyword search, it has to be exact match of the product queries. Use case number one I have here is when a user searches for something such as Nike Air Max shoes size 10. Now, Size 10 would probably give trouble to some websites too. So they'll probably just show some products that maybe are not available in size 10. But if the algorithm is quite good, it will probably still show relevant results for Nike Air Max size 10. And then this is everything we need. So this is working exactly as you'd expect. Now, also something that I don't have on the slides, and I think it's important to mention, I think as we move more into semantic search, the user's behavior will change too. Because currently there's probably very few people that would go on a website and search exactly what I search on that bicycle website, right? Bicycle lighter than 150 grams. People don't typically do that. But once they'll find out that the algorithms are actually able to pick that one up, they'll switch to that. So if we have a website that's not able to do so, you'll just give them trouble because they'll have to come back to, okay, so what am I looking for? Bike light. Okay, now then spend 5 minutes searching for a bike light that's it's very light. So this was the first use case here. The other one is when you're searching for replacement parts, for example. This is also quite useful, even if you use keyword search, so you don't really have to dig that much. Most algorithms are actually able to show relevant results. And then there's also generic category search. So for example, if you look for men's blue jeans, most algorithms will probably be able to show you something. Now, if those keywords are included in the product pages, those results would show. But the switch towards the semantic search would actually be able to pick up content even from pictures. So even if you don't have anywhere mentioned men's blue jeans, it would be able to estimate the probability of some kind of a product image of those being men's blue jeans. So you don't have to include it anywhere. The algorithm would just read the product image and would be like, okay, there's a 67 probability this is a men's blue jeans. So it would still be able to show this. So in terms of semantic search, you have the intent-based product search. So when a user is looking, for example, for something such as best shoes for marathon training, if you do this on a relatively small D2C website, it won't really show you that much. It will probably show you something that has marathon in it, but it won't show you top shoes for marathon training. So it's super important for the search results to adapt to this and for the user to get a curated list of what he wants in the end, which is top-rated running shoes specifically designed for marathon. In terms of product recommendations, this is also quite interesting, and Amazon does this quite a lot because they have a lot of history of what the user does on the website. In this example I have here, the algorithm knows that the user actually bought a DSLR. They know what kind of DSLR the user bought. So when someone searches for something such as best camera additions, for example, it would show most probably accessories for the camera that the user actually bought because it knows that this guy has this kind of camera. How about I show him this? In the end, all those search results are a probability game, and the very efficient algorithms are showing search results that have the highest probability of the user to convert. So if you go off the rails and just show something that's random, of course, those don't have high probability of conversion. But if you show search results for the type of DSLR that the user bought last week, those for sure have a high probability of converting. And then there's also ambiguous queries. If there's a user that searches for something such as home improvement ideas, this is quite wide. But also if the algorithm knows that the user actually has some history into home office and decor queries, it would be able to pick up what kind of colors they're more geared towards and really show them something based on the history that they have on that platform. So very important here in closing up this presentation, I think brands and users also have to switch their mindset from matching keywords to actually understanding what they're trying to do, and in the case of the brand, understanding what the client wants to get from the search results. Now, there's some let's say ideas here of how you can move towards understanding. You have to develop content that provides value and answers the user's underlying question. We've worked with a brand previously that worked with Algolia, and it was very interesting to create all those word graphs of everything that a user would be searching for, specifically for those they were running shoes, for example. So you really have to be super specific into the testimonials and reviews and everything to include all that in the backend, so that then the algorithm would be able to pick those ones up. And then if you're, for example, on Amazon, you can utilize long tail keywords and phrases that would align with natural human language. It's not new that sometimes there's some keywords that no one would think of, that they're for some reason converting for some product. So it's interesting to dig into these and see how are they related actually with your product. And then if you have a D2C website and your search query results are not super efficient, you'll have to use one of those search as a service platforms. And then continuously, I think you have to research what the users are searching for, and really understand what their use case is, and really try to tailor and in the end personalize the search results for every one of them, not just show generic as we typically see on most of today's e-commerce websites. So that was my presentation. I hope this was insightful. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Claudia. I think we've already got a question come through. So it's from Tushar. Thank you for your question. Can semantic search also understand different languages and give results as per the keyword typed? For example, if I'm in Turkey and type some keyword in Turkish to show how the search will react to that word, obviously, if it's on different platform.
It does. It 100% does. And the more advanced algorithms actually have mapping of keywords between languages. So you can actually do a test, go on Amazon DE, for example, and search for an English keyword, and they'll be able to actually show you quite relevant results, even if you search in English. I'm not, other than English and my native language, which is Romanian, I'm constantly searching across Amazon France, Amazon Italy, Amazon Spain, Germany, and so on. Most of the times I'm searching in English keywords, and most of the times the search query results are relevant for what I'm searching for. So the more developed the algorithm is, the more it actually is able to pick up keywords and semantic results in between languages. So for sure, this is something that works. And a funny fact that probably some of you heard is that in the case of ChatGPT, for example, the ChatGPT developers mentioned that they've never trained ChatGPT on Portuguese, for example. And if you go actually and try to speak Portuguese with ChatGPT, it would be able to reply and kind of answer all your questions in Portuguese. So those algorithms are actually really, really smart, and they're really able to pick up all those connections between keywords. Because in the end, ChatGPT really is kind of a extremely big map of keywords and predicting what the next keyword is in a sequence of answers. So that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely important, especially when sellers are launching internationally. They're not necessarily going to know the different languages, and also on different platforms. So like you said, Amazon maybe has a really good database, but you might want to launch your own website and not have commissions and other things that you'd have to pay out for. So I think in order for your website to be successful, you do have to look at semantics and making sure that you're actually using those technologies and those databases to actually make your product visible, because if it's not visible, then no one can buy it. So that's really, really key. Thank you. Go on. Sorry. Do we have any more questions?
I just wanted to add a clarification here. So while an algorithm would be able to pick up and show search results based on, for example, if you search English in Amazon DE, that does not mean you should not have German content localized to the German marketplace, right? So if you go EU5, for example, or even if you go Poland or Sweden or Turkey, you still have to localize your content. The idea is, okay, you rely on the algorithm to be able to show your product for some of the queries that are in a different language, but that's going to be 2-3% of all the search queries. The majority of it, the vast majority of it, would still be in the local language of the platform. So you still have to have your content localized and make sure it's optimized for the SEO of that language.
Absolutely, yeah. And in order to be successful, you have to, like we were saying before, focus on your consumer, and understand, like you were saying, why they're purchasing the product, and understand their characteristics to be able to actually promote your product to them. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions from our listeners. Can't see any in the chat. Perfect. Unless, is there anything more that you wanted to add, maybe following on from the questions, or any other topics?
Yeah, perhaps I'd like to add some few insights about semantic, because it's exactly what we've done at VOCADS, is that we created that semantic technology, being able to understand a wide scope of the language. Because what people do, I mean, Claudio was mentioning keyword research, but if you do a survey, it's the same idea. The old school type 1, type 2, type 3, instead of talking naturally, is, you know, it's the same principle. What people want now is is writing as they talk, talking as they write. I mean, it's natural. So that's why semantic today is the brand new technology compared to syntactic or the previous way of searching. So it's really important for retailers to understand that, yeah, there are some new ways, new behaviors with clients and customers.
Absolutely. No, I think it's definitely important for sellers and retailers to keep up with these trends, which is exactly why we've put this video out today. So I can't see any more questions, but this content will be available. So don't worry if there was a question that you wanted to ask. You can contact us. All our contact details will be available in the replay. And also we'll be sharing this on all our socials. So don't forget to follow AVASK, VOCADS and E-Comas on the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. And again, like I said, this video will be available on YouTube, so you can rewatch and make sure you're implementing all of these strategies. So thank you, Elise. Thank you, Claudio, for today. And I think we can leave it there.
Thank you,
Laura.
guys.
Thank you, Elise.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.